Hey, it's MK, and I am here with another 31 days of cut files for you guys. And today I am working still with the Steampunk cut files for week 3. So this is our cut file for today. I like all the different little things going on in the collage. I've also got 3 photos of the engine house that is a part of the Northern Nevada Railroad Museum down in Ely, Nevada. I have this Minte's Mr. Fixit die cut pack that I was going to pick out a few things. I have my title ready. It just says Engine House. I'm labeling this the Engine House because it's actually the maintenance shop, and you walk through the maintenance shop, and in the back of the shop is where the engine house is. However, these are mostly the pictures of the engines that are stored in there. So I used the DIY thickers in Brie to create my title. I have this Kaisercraft. I believe it was called Workshop. Yeah, Factory 42, something like that. And I still have that one sticker left on there. So also from Mr. Fixit Minte, I've got this gorgeous green and brown paper. I love these colors, you guys. And then from P13, the Free Spirit collection, I have this gorgeous diamond plate. And I think it's paper number 5. Yes, paper number 5 from Free Spirit. It's got these light bulbs on the backside in case some of that paper is still hanging around. And then in my little tray, I have these leftover letters. These are all the letters I have left over from those Tim Holtz stencil letters. I've got these puffy little stars that are like a ribbon. I had intention of using this twine, but it doesn't end up making it on my layout. I have several different pieces of wood veneer tooling from my old collection as well as my new collection, and then some metal gears, and then a couple things from the Minte garage collection, as well as a film strip that was in the color Toast. I think it was my last little film strip. I have this really cool ribbon too that I picked up at a scrapbook store in Arizona when I was visiting Christina in Arizona back in 2019, I think. 2021, somewhere in there. And so I have brushed corduroy and bundled sage that I'm going to be using in Distress Oxide for both my title and my cut file. So I'm going to go ahead and create a green base coat, just like the Minte Mr. Fixit paper is. And then I'm going to apply this bundled sage, which is a brown, but it also dries in a different green too. It's more like a bluey green or a turquoise green. And I wanted it on top while the bundled sage was still dry. I wanted it on top so that way it could stay and blend and bleed into the other color and kind of mix around. And then I'm just going to use the bundled sage on top of the engine house words, and it will actually end up two-toning it too. So it'll turn green as well once it oxidizes into the air. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and work on my background. I'm going to use this diamond print as my background, and then I'm going to trim my photos and use the Minte paper to matte my photos. Now, at first I thought I was going to have a lot more of that Minte photo or Minte paper actually showing, and that's why I did all that with my colors in my cut file as well as my Alpha's title, but I ended up keeping it nice and tight. And so it's there, it's hinted, it's definitely more visible in person. But yeah, it's definitely muted, a lot more muted than I was anticipating. And I had plenty of paper if I really wanted to, make it stand out just a little bit more, but I'm okay. Okay. So went ahead and cut out my photo mats. Now I'm going to distress the edges, and I left all of this in because this layout came together quite easily. I have to say, when I was pulling out all those tools, I instantly got an idea of what I wanted to do with all those tools, because we are in the maintenance shop, or it's actually called the machine shop. It's where their large tools are, because most of the repairs have to be done from scratch by hand. They've got a milling machine, and they've got a lathe that is about the size of one of these steam engines. It's huge because they have to build their own pieces because clearly they're not making these types of trains anymore. The diesel trains, not so much. They can still get a few parts from those, like idlers and whatnot. But as far as the steam engines go, they basically have to make everything by themselves. And so it's called a machine shop rather than the maintenance shop. But we refer to as the maintenance shop. And so like I said, these pictures are more of the engine house. This is where all the engines live. Now, the sidecars and everything else, they live in a different bunker or shed or shop. So this is just where, the main guys live. What I get excited for when I go and check out a train museum or any type of train yard. And so for the steam engines, they park them in backwards, and so what you're seeing on 93 and 81 over there is on the left-hand picture. That's their coal carts, and they back their coal carts and they back the train in, so that way when they pull it out, the train is going in the right direction. For the diesel engines, they're all pulled in forward, and then they just back them out and back them up all the way to the loading dock of where the platform where the people get onto the train. They just back them straight out, and then they switch tracks, so that way when the train starts moving forward, it's going to go out and around the machine shop in order to get onto the tracks of where they're headed. So these 5 alphabets, that is all that is left of my Tim Holtz little stencil metal alphas that I had. He only had one of every letter, and I was able to create a title using all the alphas except for these 5. Actually, that's not true. I think I have 4 more, but they spell out the word yes. And so I kept those. Weird. I have an E of all things left over from this one set. So anyways, I just had to point that out. I just realized that. But I don't plan on seeing invisible. I wanted to keep the steel part of it, but I didn't need to see the alphas. I'm okay if they did peek through a little bit, because everything in that shop was stenciled with a name on it, not somebody's personal name, but if this was for especially when they disassemble a train, they stencil everything. This is for engine 40, this is for engine 81, and there's actually 2 different engine 81s. I don't have the second 81. One of them's a steam and the other one's a diesel, by the way. And so anyways, they definitely have everything labeled, because at the time when we were walking through the machine shop, they had 40 torn apart as well as 93. And because they're both Baldwins, and they're both steamers, all their parts could look the same. They're not the exact same configuration, but they are both, they both have the same internal components and whatnot. And so when you start mixing up trains like that, then parts to get lost. So anyways, this was my idea going on here, and I wanted to use this ribbon because I wanted it to look like it's kind of more messier than it really was, and I felt like the ribbon gave me that messiness, gave me that almost like a dusty table look for it. And then of course I love the metallic in the background, and I found a few more drill bits and washers to add in from the Mr. Fixit collection, because that was absolutely perfect. I mean, the drill bits that they use on these engines they're massive. They're like the size of a cup, right? Of a cup that you drink out of. They're huge, and I mean around. They're not that small of a cup, but they're that big around. And then you look at the size, the length of them, and I mean these drill bits were absolutely perfect. And of course, some of these tools are on the smaller scale, like all the wrenches in there. I don't think there's anything under 3 inches for a wrench. And then where ours, we probably don't have anything larger than 1 inch. And so for here, it's, it's the exact opposite. There are no teeny tiny little tools. It's all humongo, big old huge tools and whatnot. Instead of just a regular hammer, there's probably all sledgehammers and things like that. So yes and no, these tools are not to scale, but I still wanted, that tooling effect, because that's where all these engines are stored, is in the maintenance shop. And it's kind of nice too, because nice and quick, they can quickly, get the engine from either being worked on, going in, into the maintenance shop, and then switch tracks, and it can just go back into the engine house. So very, very nice. 93, actually, the engine wasn't in there. They just had the coal car. They disconnected the coal car and pulled 93 out, and it was getting a new cylinder put in, a drive cylinder for the front side. So she was in the shop. I already did a layout on her boo boo, as my kids called it. And then of course I'm trying to incorporate everything that I picked out. When I got to the shiny stars, I felt like it was too shiny. I definitely wanted to use this big collage as a nice base for my title. And so when I laid my title down on it, I absolutely loved it. But then I also wanted to bring in a few other elements to make the title not look so flat. So I'm going to go ahead and add this chain with a hook, which is definitely something you will see in the engine shop, or I'm sorry, the machine shop, because that's how they move things around. They've got lots and lots of cranes. And they use the cranes, to the point where they've got a crane going the length of the engine, and then several cranes going the width of the engine. So it is pretty cool how they, don't have to lift anything. They've got so many machines there to lift everything. So I'm going to finish off this layout here with this, something saddle. Oh my God, you guys, I forgot what it's called, but it's a color splash. It is a brown color splash by Shimmers. And I apologize. I think it's called Back in the Saddle. But it is a gorgeous brand new Shimmers color splash color. And then I'm going to finish it off down at the bottom to give it a little bit more green. I'm going to go ahead and add instead of doing bundled sage, I went with the brushed corduroy. So that way I got a little bit of brown and a little bit of green in there. So I really do like how that looks, and everything kind of looks oxidized. All right, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really, truly appreciate it. I love how this turned out. I really do. I like how easy these cut files are to work with. You can cut them up and use them in little bits. You can use them as a great background piece to a title. You can use them even in pocket pages to help decorate the pocket page. Either way, they are just fascinating to work with. I just love them. All right, you guys, don't forget to check out the links down below, as well as Janet Fritz's channel, who is Galaxy Girl Creations, here on YouTube, because she is my partner in crime when it comes to 31 days of cut files. And yeah, thanks a lot, and I'll check y'all later. Bye.